Hello friends, 18th June 2023 at 9:30 a.m. 5. People are sitting in a submarine called Titan and dive into the ocean. They are going to see the wreck of the Titanic, the same great Titanic that sank into the ocean. About 100 years ago, this is a very extreme form of adventure. Tourism, and it is very expensive. Each person in this submarine has spent more than 2 crore rupees for this few hours of tour. This trip is so expensive because the Titanic ship is hidden deep in the ocean specifically. It is 3,810 meters below the surface of the water. This submarine starts its journey below the water. It will take about 2 hours to reach a depth of 3,810 meters every 15 minutes. This submarine sends a signal to a ship on the ocean, the Solar Prince. This is the only way to communicate with the outside world that day on 18th June. This submarine went into the water. It only took about 2:45 hours, and suddenly, this submarine loses contact with the ship on the surface. It was 4:30 p.m. until this submarine finished its tour and came back up. But no sign of it was seen at 7:10 p.m. The team in the Polar Prince decides to inform the U.S. Coast Guard, and this is where it all begins, friends. A multinational search went on for 4 days. A great search and rescue operation is done to find this submarine. Aircraft, ships, and robot vehicles are also used. Everyone has only one question in their mind: what happened to these passengers? Back of the same thing that sent those people at that sub to their fate. Before starting this video, I would like to praise you all that you are spending your time watching such informational and educational videos, because there are thousands of ways to waste time on social media, but watching such videos makes you understand the world better and your knowledge increases. This is a good investment of time. Similarly, if you want to learn the ultimate technique to manage your time better so that you can increase your productivity and take out time for your favorite things in your life, join my time management course at Dhruv Rathi Academy. This is a practical course that teaches you step-by-step secret techniques, which I use in my life. After completing this, you will see a transformation in your studies and work. In fact, you will see a transformation in your life at home. The thousands who took this course also have to say the same thing while joining. Use the coupon TIME40 to get 40% off. You will find the link in the description below. But hurry up, because this coupon code will be applicable only to the first 400 people. Now let's understand the whole story of the Titan submarine. This is the place where this submarine disappeared. It is located near Canada, in the Atlantic Ocean. Look at the map. It is about 600 kilometers away from the Canadian island, Newfoundland. In the depths of the water, you will also find the Titanic's wreck, which is broken in 2 parts. One part of the bow is the other part of the stern, and both are about 800 meters away from each other. The Titan submarine that disappeared here was not a submarine but a submersible. Both these words are very similar to each other, so to simplify, I was using the word submarine, but there is a very important difference between these 2 words. Submarines have their own power. They can use a port to go into the sea and come out of the sea, but the submersibles cannot do this. To launch the submersible into the water, to launch the submarine, and to come back, you need a support ship, a ship that is present above the water and is controlling things. In our case, this support ship was a Polar Prince ship. This whole operation was run by a company called Ocean Gate, whose CEO was Stockton Rush. Remember his name because he plays an important role in the rest of the story. He is a professional aerospace engineer, and in 2009, he created Ocean Gate Company, a private company whose purpose was to get rich people to do these deep sea expeditions as tourism. This company started offering Titanic tours in July 2021. Before this, they used to get other shipwrecks to do the tours of other places. As you can see on their website, other than Titanic, there were also Azores and Bahamas expeditions. Titan was not the only submersible of this company. Other than this, Ocean Gate had 2 other submersibles, Antipodes and Cyclops. Antipodes could go up to a depth of 304 meters in the sea, and Cyclops up to 500 meters. But Titan was designed to go down 4,000 meters within 4 kilometers of water. This is the reason that they had this only submersible to go to Titanic 3. 800 meters is such a huge depth to visualize this. See this chart made by Washington. Post the measurements are written in feet usually. A man's height is 6 feet. The iceberg that collided with the Titanic ship, it used to go up to about 100 feet above the water, and much more below the water. 130 feet is the maximum depth that recreational scuba divers can go while scuba diving. After 650 feet, a twilight zone area starts where not so much light can reach the water. 1,600 feet is the deepest ever underwater rescue operation that has been conducted so far. 2,600 feet is the depth where giant squids swim. Giant squids are such a terrifying animal that it looks like they came from an alien planet. Just look at the photos. If you go down further, a midnight zone starts after 3,800 feet. No sunlight can reach the water from this. The temperature of the water is around 4 degrees Celsius. Now go down from here. 5,000 feet, 6,000 feet, 8,000 feet, 10,000 feet, and when you finally reach 12,500 feet, this is where the ocean floor comes, where the Titanic's wreck is present. The pressure at this depth is almost 400 times more than the pressure at the surface, so the design of the submersible that will go to such a depth should be done thinking about all this. The window size that was installed outside can be this small, and the window in the Titan submersible is called a viewport. It was the biggest viewport that was ever made in any private submersible until today. In itself, this Titan submersible was not much bigger. It was only capacity for 5 people. Its main body, which is called hull, was made of carbon fiber. There were 2 caps at the end that were titanium, and its total length is around 6.7 meters, and its weight is more than 400 kilograms. You can see 4 electric thrusters on the outside of its design, 2 horizontal and 2 verticals, through which it can be operated. Now, an interesting fact to operate this was that all this was controlled by a video game controller. It's actually not as weird as it sounds, because the U.S. Navy also controls the viewports that are installed in their submarines. The viewports that are installed outside are controlled by Xbox controllers, but yes, the whole submarine was being controlled by a video game controller. This means that the pilot that was running this submersible in the water was also using this video game controller. If you look at the inside view, there were no seats to sit inside, but a small toilet was made near the viewport, and there was no barrier on the toilet, so they literally said that if anyone wanted to go to the toilet, the rest of the people could just sit there. They kept watching on a TV screen, and they were using the toilet. Now, because these submersibles go so deep in the water, the GPS doesn't work here. The communication that was done to the ship was done through a text messaging system. It's unclear which internet connection was available on the ship. A few days ago, OceanGate had said on the old tweet that they were using Starlink's satellite internet service to communicate. When we came back to this story on 18th June, 5 people were sitting in this submersible that day. The first was the 58-year-old British billionaire Hamish Harding. He was an adventurer and a 3-time Guinness World Record holder. In 2016, he went to the South Pole with astronaut Buzz Aldrin. At one time, he had dived for 4 hours in the deepest part of the ocean, Mariana Trench, and last year, he was a part of the Blue Origin suborbital flight that was started by the space exploration company Jeff Bezos. The second passenger was the 77-year-old Paul-Henri Norzoulet, a former commander of the French Navy. He had visited the Titanic's wreck about 35 times by himself. He was also the director of the underwater research of the RMS Titanic. The third and fourth passengers were a British-Pakistani businessman, Shehzada Dawood, and his 19-year-old son, Sulaiman. He was the owner of one of the biggest companies in Pakistan. Sulaiman's aunt had also said that Sulaiman was actually scared of going, but he went with him on this journey to keep his father happy and to give him company. As I told you that day, his submersible was communicating with the ship on the upper deck at every 15-minute interval. This communication stops at 11:15 a.m. After this, no communication or signal comes despite this. It was expected that it would come back at 4:30 p.m. when the Titanic resurfaced, because if by chance this submersible would have been stuck in the water, then there was a way for the passengers to tilt it from the inside and push it back and forth to bring it back up. This is done by removing the ballasts. Ballasts are an important part of the stability of large ships and submarines. They themselves are just heavy weights and nothing else. With their help, the submarines can descend into the water. In the olden days, stones and sandbags were used as ballasts. But today, the submarines only use water. Ballasts are filled with water in tanks so that the weight increases and the submarines start going into the water. When the Titanic did not resurface at 4:30 p.m., the people on board waited for a while. And at 10:10 p.m., the U.S. Coast Guard was notified. After this, a great race began, the race against time. In the Titanic, there was an oxygen supply of only 4 days for 96 hours if a rescue operation was being done. Here, they had only 4 days if they wanted to find the passengers alive. Now, an emergency locator is often used in ships, which is called emergency position indicating radio beacon EPIRB. With the help of this, these vessels can be located, but it was not used in the Titanic here. Another problem was that if the Titanic had come back to the surface of the sea, even then, people sitting inside would have been killed due to lack of oxygen. Because there was no way to open this submersible from the inside. You heard it right. The door of this submersible could only be closed from the outside and could only be opened from the outside. So whether this submersible was inside the water or above, the time of 4 days was very critical here. The search area above was 25,000 km. Finding a submersible in such a large area, imagine how difficult this is. Our state of Go is 7 times larger than that, and the deepest underwater rescue that was done so far was done only up to 480 meters deep in 1973, but still, the rescue teams did their best in the beginning. 2 American and 2 Canadian aircrafts started this operation. In both of them, sonar was deployed so that they could also be detected inside the water. 3 ships started searching on the surface, but as time went by, more ships started coming in search operation. Some remotely operated vehicles, i.e. ROVs, were also used here. Consider this a robot-type vehicle in which no one sits inside, but they can dive into the water and find things, and they are controlled by the surface of the water. 3 ROVs were searching for it here. After searching for 3 days, on the 3rd day of the search operation, a Canadian aircraft sonar hears some banging noises in half an hour intervals. Some sounds are heard like someone is knocking on the door. Later, the U.S. Coast Guard also hears the sounds. Finally, on June 22, an ROV that was searching on the ocean floor sees some debris. It is approximately 490 meters away from the Titanic's bow. Upon seeing this, it is confirmed that the submersible has been broken and crushed. The people who were inside it have lost their lives. After the rest of the search, 5 debris pieces are found in total on the same day. A confirmation from the U.S. Coast Guard comes in a press conference that the banging noises they heard had nothing to do with the Titan submersible. Actually, the conclusion is that the Titan imploded due to high pressure. You might be thinking that the word implosion means to explode, but it actually means the opposite of the word explosion. We use the word explosion whenever there is an explosion, like a bomb explodes. The force that is there goes out, but the force that is there in the implosion comes inwards to squeeze in and explode. This is implosion, and catastrophic implosion means the implosion happened so fast that the entire structure was destroyed. And it didn't even take a millisecond. This means that the people who were inside it were immediately killed by the blast, and they didn't even have any idea. The question here is why this implosion happened. Actually, the main body of the Titan, as I said, it was made of carbon fiber, but the submarines and submersibles that are made of steel, titanium, or aluminum. The design of the carbon fiber of the Titan was an experimental design. How would the properties of carbon fiber work? No one had ever tested it properly, and looking at this disaster, we can say that carbon fiber is not a suitable material for this use case. This is what ocean explorer Robert Ballard said, the person who discovered the wreck of the Titanic. In 1985, he said that he dived thousands of times in different vehicles to go inside the ocean, but he had never lost a vehicle until today. This was the first time that a submarine or submersible was imploded in this way. If you look at our history, it's safer to be in a submarine like Alvin, that I spent many years in, than driving on I-95. James Cameron, the famous director of Titanic and Avatar films, he himself has gone many times in the deep sea in different expeditions. He also had to say the saying that the caps that were made of titanium were still intact on the sea floor. Nothing happened to them, but the main body of carbon fiber is now scattered in pieces. He strongly criticized the Titan by saying that safety regulations were not followed. And if you look at the old interviews of the CEO of Ocean Gate, you will hear the same thing again and again. In 2019, a long article was published in Smithsonian Magazine in which his CEO was talking about Ocean Gate Company. He said that U.S. Passenger Vessel Safety Act of 1993 was needlessly prioritizing passenger safety over commercial innovation. He felt that this act is useless. There is no need to pay attention to safety. He said in another interview last year, at some point, safety just is pure waste. I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed, don't get in your car, don't do anything at some point. Safety is just pure waste. I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed, don't get in your car, don't do anything after this. He says, I've broken some rules to make Titan. I think I've broken them with logic and good engineering behind me. I've broken some rules to make this. I think I've broken them with logic and good engineering behind me. The carbon fiber and titanium, the rule said that carbon fiber and titanium should not be used, but he used. It broke the rule and did it on purpose. Stockton Rush knew that he was doing an experiment here which could be very dangerous. In January 2018, Ocean Gate's Director of Marine Operations David Lodgeridge actually told us about safety concerns about Titan submersible, but when Ocean Gate didn't listen, he went to the court about this. He said that a safety assessment and certification should be done for submersible, but Ocean Gate refused. He said that this company had no interest in spending money on safety. The legal battle that he had in the court, eventually, there was a settlement in 2018. But on 27 March 2018, about 36 people wrote a letter to Stockton Rush. The industry leaders, deep sea explorers, and oceanographers who wrote this letter, they were such people, and they said that the experimental approach that you are doing, you are not checking the quality of things. Because of this, you may see a terrible accident. One day in March 2018, another deep sea exploration specialist wrote a mail to their CEO. That be a little conservative about safety. They wrote that you are putting yourself and your clients in danger in the race to reach Titanic. You are repeating the same phrase. She is unsinkable. Remember, I told you in the Titanic video how blind and deaf people believe that this is such a big ship. It can never sink. It is unsinkable. But that ship sank that day, and now the same thing happened to Titan in the history. The name of Stockton Rush is included in this list of inventors who were killed by their own invention. This teaches us that we should never ignore safety standards and regulations. If you found the video informative, you can click here and watch the Titanic video, in which I have told the whole story of Titanic from the beginning to the end. See you in the next video. Thank you very much.